Hey everyone, it's Father's Day, and that makes it the perfect time to record a video that I've been wanting to make for a while. Um, Jesse and I get asked a lot how it is that we both ended up interested in skepticism and rationality and reasoning in general, and what it was that our parents did to make us like this. And I'm sure that there are many factors contributing to how Jesse and I turned out that have nothing to do with parenting choices, like genes and chance. But that said, there are a bunch of things I'm consciously aware of, and probably many I'm not consciously aware of, that our parents did, like parenting choices they made, that I think helped us turn out interested in rationality and intellectually curious. And so I thought it might be helpful to those of you who have kids or want to have kids someday and want to give them some nudges along the path towards rationality and intellectual curiosity. To hear some tips sourced from my memories of my parents, and especially my father, because it's Father's Day, tips for raising a rationalist. So the first thing that comes to mind that I know I consciously emulated from both of our parents is that whenever Jesse and I would disagree with them about something, whether it was an abstract idea or a very concrete issue of rules for me and Jesse, they were very good about clearly listening to what we were saying and considering it. And, usually they weren't convinced by our arguments, but sometimes they would come back upon reflection and say, you know what, I thought about it, and you're right, that does make sense, or you're right, that was unfair. And they were just clearly truth-seeking. They wanted the right answer about how the world was, or about how to parent us, or about what was fair, regardless of whether that answer had been what they were originally claiming. And I know that I noticed that even as like a 7-year-old, and thought to myself, oh, that was pretty cool that Dad said that, and that he listened to what I said and changed his mind. I want to be like that someday. So that's a big thing. Relatedly, I remember noticing and admiring the fact that whenever Dad would criticize me or Jesse for something we'd done or said, just anything we could improve upon, that he was really good about phrasing his criticisms in as non-aggressive, non-hurtful a way possible, which made it much easier for me to genuinely think about what he was saying and whether he might have a point. And it's something that I use to this day in debates with people, that I phrase things in as non-hurtful and non-aggressive a way possible, because that'll make them much more likely to consider what I'm saying and possibly change their mind. Whenever Jesse or I asked Dad questions about why things were a certain way or how something worked, there were two things he did that were really good, I think. One is we had a policy of always looking things up whenever we didn't know the answer. This is something Dad just does himself all the time. If he doesn't know what a word means or where it came from, he will automatically get out the dictionary, or if there's anything he's curious about, he'll go run and Google it. And so that just became like standard policy in our house is don't know the answer, go find out. And then the second thing is that when we would ask him how something worked or why something was the way it was, even when he knew the answer, which was often, he wouldn't just tell us the answer, he would lead us through the reasoning. So like ask us, well, what do you think and why? And so we would get a sense for how to reason about things as opposed to just being told the answer, which is really good. Let's see. Here's something that I'm pretty confident contributed to Jesse's and my skepticism. Dad would keep us on our toes by saying things that were not true intentionally. Not out of malice, I think, just because it amused him. So this kept us on our toes, and eventually both my brother and I and our mom had to come together and institute a rule that if we asked him point blank, is that true, he had to tell the truth. But if we didn't ask him, he could make up the most ridiculous lies possible. So this got us in the habit of always asking ourselves, is that sounds implausible, might that not be true? And then challenging him on it. Although we did still end up punked quite a lot. Relatedly, Dad would, I think again just for his own amusement, although I guess it had beneficial side effects, would tell us things that were actually true, but were framed in a misleading way. So, for example, I remember being very distraught as like an 8-year-old when Dad told me that the sandwich that he was making me for lunch had peanut butter and something that was regurgitated by an insect, which naturally was very upsetting for a little while until I figured out that he was talking about honey. So yeah, there were a few extra mental steps required there to not be distraught by my lunch. So thanks, Dad. There was one other thing that one other policy that's probably worth mentioning, which is that our parents didn't let us watch commercial TV, and they didn't let us watch more than, I think it was a half hour, maybe an hour of TV per day. The no commercial TV part I have kind of mixed feelings about, because I was already a pretty awkward kid and had trouble connecting with my peers, and not knowing about all of the pop culture references and in-jokes and everything made it that much harder for me to not be unpopular at school. So I don't know if I would endorse that part of the policy, but definitely the time limit was really helpful, because Jesse and I spent a ton of time reading and like inventing games with each other, and all sorts of other stuff that I'm sure helped us, help develop our intellectual curiosity and so on, that we wouldn't have gotten if we were watching TV. So yeah, now that I actually recite this list of things that my dad did, I feel especially grateful. So I'd like to wish a very heartfelt Father's Day, happy Father's Day to our dad from me and Jesse.